That's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you picked that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
That's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody, I need a weapon, and welcome back to the Halo Expanded Universe. I only have two things for you today, two short stories, both of which I think are in Halo Fractures, but one of them became its own novella. First off, in Halo Fractures, we have Breaking Strain by James Swallows. Now, all I know about this man is that he has written a novel, or a few novels, set within the Deus Ex universe. That's as much as I know about him. I don't do super in-depth research, but I saw the name and I recognized it and I looked it up. He wrote for Deus Ex, which I'll probably get around to at some point in the future. Basically, a UNSC crew, like near the end of Halo 3, gets stuck on this colony planet with these these normal people, and they're stuck there, and they don't got communications, they can't talk to people, so they have no idea what's going on with the wider range of the war. They don't know that it's come to a close, they know none of this, but they're working with these people, and of course they only have so much food and stuff on their ships, so they start asking them for food and crops and whatnot. In exchange, they'll give them, more power for their, little towns through their ship, But there's also a lot of insurrectionist sympathizers, because it just kind of tends to happen out in the colonies because a lot of people feel resentful about things. So there's most of the tension of the book is whether or not they're going to successfully get along, because there's a lot of conflict in between that. And we also have a Spartan 3 named Kevin, and he had a mission before they crash landed that kind of just scarred him. So now he wants to be left alone. He's like living in caves and stuff. I don't want to get too much in this short story because it's a short story. But it was overall pretty good. At the end of it, of course, the tension starts rising because there's a Covenant ship. Are they going to be able to work together to fight this off? But it turns out they don't have to fight it at all because there's humans and Sangheili on the ship. Because this is after Halo 3. So, it was pretty cool though. It was a pretty cool little short story. Then we have Shadow of Intent by Joseph Staten. Now, Joseph Staten wrote for the Halo games. He fell off after Reach, I think, but he still contributed some things. I'm not completely sure what he contributed to 4. I don't know if he contributed anything to 5, and I know he contributed a little bit to Halo Infinite. So, but and he always is the voice for the Envoys. They always bring him back for that. But yeah, so he wrote this story. And this story focuses on the Half-Jaw, Rotas Vodam. Of course, the guy from Halo 2 that goes to the Arbor and is like, that armor suits you, but it cannot hide that mark. Nothing ever will. You are the Arbiter, the will of the prophets, but these are my elites. Their lives matter to me, yours does not. I might have even shown that clip already, I don't know, but to you guys. But yeah, it's great to see him, because we have very little with him outside of the games themselves. There's a comic you can read that's like during the games, which is just okay. But it was really cool to see him here, and you could really feel the Halo 2 in here. There's very much it's very much that a lot of the writing in Halo 2 has to be attributed to Joseph Staten, because you feel that. And the only other novel that he's written was, of course, Contact Harvest, during the original Bungie era, which dealt with Sergeant Johnson. But you could really feel in a lot of the dialogue, like, this is the same guy that worked on Halo 2. Which is good, because Halo 2 is one of my favorites. It's like Reach and Halo 2, so those are the best written ones, and story matters to me above anything else, which I know, right? Gameplay, it's a video game, the gameplay should matter more, but you can have the best game in the world if I have no reason for doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm glad I was born when I was, because, I mean, I guess I would have had a different context, so maybe I would have, you know, it's all about context and environment. But for me, the idea of just like playing Pong, of just like making a little ball go back and forth, why am I doing that? What's the objective? I mean, it's obviously just to have fun, but for me, when it comes to diving into any art form, if I'm going to invest my time into it, I have to have a reason, like, within it to care. So a strong story will help with that, you know? The gameplay could be mid, or the gameplay could be amazing, but if you have me invested with the story, it doesn't have to take over the whole game, but there has to be enough there where I can sink my teeth into it and be like, okay, I get why I'm doing what I'm doing. Halo 1, perfect example. It's a very simple story, but it really gives you the right headspace, gives you enough information to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. But Halo 2, I think, just perfected it and everything, and made me really invest in the world and the stakes within. But back to this. Meanwhile, we have Halfjaw, who has his ship, Shadow of Intent, and they're zooming around space because it's the most powerful ship that the Sangheili have. And the Arbiter does, while there's, especially because if you've been reading Halo Glasslands, not only just within the Sangheili culture itself is there divisions and strife right now with people, but you also have Oni, who's trying to further that political discourse between the Sangheili factions to make them fight more. As we'll see with Jewel Mondama later on, and we've already seen with him. So it's a very whatever. It's a very rough time in Sanghelios, for the Sangheili in general. So the Arbiter does not trust, just like leaving his most powerful ship back there in case somebody, you know, tries to steal it. So he has his man that he trusts the most to take it out and explore. But we have a small faction of brutes, Jinaholli, and Sanshayum. But of course, what's cool here is one of the Sanshayum walks, like, fine, and is in armor. This is a prelate Sanshayum, which we never really heard much about before, but apparently they existed, and they would have completely and utterly destroyed the Sangheili were not for the Flood taking over High Charity in Halo 2. But we get a flashback, or I guess just because of the end of story, an imposed memory on the part of the prelate Sanshayum, seeing the Sangheili slaughter his wife and daughter, or wife and son, or he doesn't know, he never got to find out the gender, so his wife and kid. Also, there is a rather tall Unggoy. It's not like the biggest thing ever, but it's big for an Unggoy, and it's one of Halfjaw's like most powerful like members, which is just crazy to think of a really tall Unggoy being like really helpful. So that was cool and funny. But Artos, Halfjaw, the prelate later on, they have a discussion, and the prelate realizes that you know, he's very angry and he's kind of, you know, posturing, but he very much is starting to believe him that, you know, he was lied to. And then it wasn't the Sangheili at all, it was just the Flood, because Halfjaw, Artos, he had the Rotos, whatever, he had the, you know, High Charity burned because the Flood were overrunning it. And that just, like, affects the prelate deeply. Later on, he'd actually, like, try to stop the bad guys and, you know, sacrifice himself. But he sings the Sangheili song before he goes, which there's a whole thing with that earlier on. It was, like, a very small little thing there with that, where they talking about Sangheili songs and stuff, and it just comes around full circle, and it's nice. But, basically, I don't want to spoil too much, but the Arbiter at the end offers, you know, Halfjaw retirement, and ultimately Halfjaw says no, and he keeps exploring the stars to check out for other distant factions and whatnot. So that's the end of the short story, or the short novella. It's about 92 pages. It's really good. It's really good. You know, Joseph Staten's a great writer, and it was a great story to tell, and I'm glad we got to read it in some form or fashion. So that's pretty much it. When next we meet, we will be on the second book in the Kilo 5 trilogy by Karen Traviss, The Thursday War. Till then, guys, let's finish the fight. Bye-bye.